Thank you for tuning into my moment. Once again, you rocking with your boy Stay Humble, and I appreciate you guys checking in with me. We're gonna continue on with this series of keep on believing. Sometimes we get discouraged, sometimes we get down, but I want to encourage you through this scripture in Mark chapter 5. And we're going to start today at verse 27 and then read through from there. So here we have Jairus seeking out Jesus to heal his daughter. Jesus says, yes, I'll come and I'll heal her. Don't worry about it. So on their way to go for Jesus to go heal Jairus' daughter, this huge crowd of masses, because they all hear the stories about Jesus. But in the midst of the crowd is this woman who has had an issue of blood for 12 years. She's been bleeding for 12 years, alienated from the fellowship of the believers because she was unclean. And then here's what happens. She says in herself, if I can just touch his garment, I'll be made well. So she presses through the crowd. She makes her way, comes up behind him and touches his garment. And as soon as she does, it says that she is made well. It says that she immediately, the issue of blood stopped. And she perceived, she felt in herself healing. All right? So what happens after that? Here we'll read it. It says, verse 27, she heard the reports about Jesus and came up behind him, Mark chapter 5, verse 27, in the crowd and touched his garment. For she said, if I touch even his garment, I will be made well. And immediately the flow of blood dried up, and she felt in her body that she was healed of her disease. So here she is healed. And Jesus, perceiving in himself that power had gone out from him, immediately turned about in the crowd and said, who touched my clothes? He's looking around like, who touched me? Now we know Jesus is fully God, fully man. So in his divinity, he knows who touched him. In his humanity, he does not know who touched him. And he's looking around. He's like, yo, I know power went out. He's looking around. Yo, who touched me? And then check it out. Here's what it says. And his disciples said to him, you see the crowd pressing around you, and yet you say, who touched me? And he looked around to see who had done it. But the woman, knowing what had happened to her, look at this, looking around, who touched me? The disciples are like, yo, the big as this crowd is, what you mean who touched you? Everybody is touching you, bumping on you, grabbing on you. And it said he continued to look. But the woman, knowing what had happened to her, came in fear and trembling and fell down before him and told him the whole truth. Now here this woman comes and confesses to him, I was unclean. I had this issue of blood. That means everybody who's listening, who she bumped into, now knows. She's contaminated or defiled them. She's made them unclean. And even saying to Jesus the Master that I reached out to touch you in my uncleanness with my issue of blood. She tells him the whole story. And it says, but the woman, knowing what had happened to her, came in fear and trembling, fell down before him and told him the whole truth. And he said to her, daughter, your faith has made you well. He says, your faith has made you well. Your belief, your trust in me, you saying that if I could just touch the hem of his garment, if I could just get to him and touch him, I know I'll be healed. He says, your faith, your trust in me, not just the fact you sat and said, oh, well, maybe Jesus, if he wants to do it. No, but you came and you sought me out and you touched me. Because of that, your faith has made you well. He says, and he said to her, daughter, your faith has made you well. Go in peace and be healed of your disease. Now, remember, this is Jesus on his way to Jairus' house to heal his daughter. This woman comes up in the crowd, grabs onto it, the hem of his garment, touches it. She's healed. Jesus looking around like, yo, I felt power go out from me. Who touched me? The disciples are like, yo, what are you talking about? Everybody's touching you. And Jesus is like, no, somebody touched me. Something happened for somebody. And the woman, trembling, comes and falls before him and confesses it was her. Tells him the whole story. And he says, woman, go in peace. Your faith has made you well. But remember, Jairus in the back of his mind is thinking, oh my gosh, my daughter, man, like this is all extra. We need to get home so that Jesus can heal my daughter, because if not, she's going to die. Jesus is cool and calm as the breeze, though. See, sometimes we forget about everybody else in the midst of our storm. As we're going through, our eyes just tend to focus in on us. And we forget about who it is that we serve. Who it is that says, yes, I will come to your house. You know, this faith walk takes, as I said in the last episode, us being willing to risk it all. But really, it's not a risk, because the one who owns it all is the one who we're risking it for. It's just us walking in obedience, us trusting him. So if you're struggling with your faith, I want to leave you with this. A friend of mine, Brother Joshua from Uganda, when I was over there in 2016, he said something. And he said, that challenge, I asked, have you been challenged in your faith? Challenge is food for champions. This is your moment.